Welcome to Beyond the Press Release, a production of Gorecom, in which we take the time to speak to small cap executives right after they put out important news. With us today for the first time as the CEO of Chilean Metals, because you've seen him before as the founder of Save Canadian Mining. We've got Terry Lynch, CEO of Chilean Metals. You can see it there, trades on the TSX Venture Exchange under the stock symbol CMX. For those of you new to the story, that's going to be a lot of you because it's the first time for Chilean on a Gorecom. Plus, they announced this great acquisition of a significant property in Quebec. It's the Nisk property that's got a 43-101 resource that was delivered back in 2009, about 1.25 million tons of nickel at 1.1%. Plus, it's got copper, cobalt, palladium, platinum. There's also 780,000 tons indicated, 1.05 million tons inferred. It's big, and Terry's excited about it. Terry, welcome to the show.
Hey, George, great to see you again. As always, it's a pleasure to be here.
Well, great to have you. Congratulations on this headline. Chilean Metals closes Nisk acquisition, providing the company a high-grade historical nickel, copper, cobalt, PGE resource.
It's a mouthful.
How big is this, Terry?
It's huge for us. It's transformative, really. And, all exploration companies struggle to find a resource. I mean, Mother Earth doesn't give it up easily, as you know. So we spend our time and money on good science and poking holes, and we are hoping, praying that that produces a resource that we have a chance then to push to become a mine. But the biggest part of the job, the most difficult part for sure, is just finding the resource that's got the potential. And we were super fortunate to be able to acquire this resource, and we'll get into the reasons why. But I'm super optimistic now. We're going to become, not just an exploration company. We're going to become a development company. We're going to move this towards being a mine, and battery metals are hot. So I think this is a transformative event for Chilean, and I couldn't be more excited.
And I love your quote because, you're putting your money where your mouth is. You said, we're excited to close on Nisk. The more we look at its potential, the more excited we become. Getting a resource that could credibly lead to a mine. I mean, that's a big statement for you to make.
Yeah.
The single biggest challenge in junior mining. With Nisk, we believe we have such an opportunity. So technical stuff aside, what does that path look like to potentially getting this to a mine?
Yeah, so I mean, now that we've closed, and the great thing is, Critical Elements is a great partner. They're operating, and they've got the big lithium mine neighboring, nearby. So we're well set operationally to execute on this, and we know the ground well. So we're basically now, the next step is to we're engaging, a geological consulting modeling team to take the data we've got, and which was last really drilled on in 2010 or so. So we're going to pull that all together, and technology's come a long ways in terms of and our understanding of these types of nickel deposits come a long way. So we're pretty optimistic that we can model this up and really get a very clear understanding of where the deposit is and where it's going to grow, where the potential for growth is. So it may take us a couple months to put that together on the science side, and then we're going to drill this beast up.
You say in the headline, you mentioned there nickel, right? But the headline says nickel, copper, cobalt, PGE. And I racked up some of the numbers earlier as far as the resource estimate. Is nickel the primary?
Yeah.
And
so
what role do the other
current price curve? It's probably a 50-20-20-10 in terms of economics on the revenue, which is killer because not any one metal is going to take you down. So it gives you a really great solid economic package for future financings and whatnot in terms of when you get to the mine stage. So multi-metallic mines are much easier to finance. So it's really a plus.
In sports, when you hear of a sports trade, right? The Maple Leafs acquire a player from the Calgary Flames.
Yeah.
The good news is they're acquiring that player, but everyone wonders, well, why didn't Calgary want him at the end of the day, right? So in this case, you bought this, this transaction is with Critical Elements. It's such a great prop. Why'd they give it up?
That's been the question I've gotten in the last couple of weeks as we've been getting out there and starting to communicate the story to investors as is our job. When you're the CEO of a mining company, and we're trying to say, well, if it's so good, why did you get it? You're a small company. If it's such a hot deal, it doesn't make sense. And I said, well, in fact, it makes a lot of sense if you think about it like this. Critical Elements is going to be Canada's next lithium mine. I think it's like a $200 million corporation right now. It's going to be a $1 billion corporation real soon. You know, it's a shameless plug there. I'm an investor. I think it's a great company, and that's only phase one of their project. Phase two will add another $1 billion, and there's probably going to be a couple lithium mines. This is a beast of a lithium area, and but that has its obviously it's wonderful opportunities for its shareholders. But you know, they had acquired this asset on the way through, but they had made the lithium discovery. So they have to, when you have a winner in your portfolio, you got to focus on the winner. We're not paid to gamble here. We gamble because we have to. But when we get a resource, we stop gambling and focus on maximizing, you know,
so it's no
potential
longer
profit.
part of their core competency. They love Nisk, but just wasn't part of their core asset.
Right. So they recognize that from a, you know, maximizing value for their shareholder perspective, they had to get it out. And then so if you're going to do that situation, where do you want to put it? You want to put it where you can get the maximum impact. So they can't get more than 20% because they don't want to be operating the company. So they got 19.99, and they got a team that they know and trust. We know each other. That's a big part of it in this business. It's about the network. And so they got the maximum leverage. And like I said to investors, you know, if you look at Chilean, generally speaking, 12 million shares is not a tradable position. You know, you basically got to believe in the deal, being
Absolutely.
able to go.
Yeah, they're not going to liquidate 12 million shares.
So when I talk to shareholders, I'm saying the fact that these guys did this with us should make you want to buy the stock, because it's like they bought 12 million shares and they got to hold that for 4 months, and you know they're going to be in for the long run because they've got another participating interest in the project. So it's a very big commitment from them. And that should give you confidence as a shareholder to say, wow, I want to get on that train. And I think I think as we're starting to see the stock move, it's because people are realizing when they look at Nisk and its potential comparative to the other nickel deposits, they're saying, wow, you guys could be worth multiples of this right now. I'm saying, yes, we can.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because I want to ask you, can you put Nisk into perspective with other comparables? Right now, you got about 3 million tons between measured, indicated, and inferred. But most of us, including me, don't know how to put that into.
Yeah. So there's around the world, there's a number of mines between 8 and 12 million tons. So of this grade. So that's where you got to get to be, you know, mineable. So we got to basically triple the resource. Okay. So we think this, you know, we've got, like, you know, if you look at our maps and our presentations, we got a very small amount of our area has been, you know, is in the resource, and there's tons of opportunity to expand that resource. And there's a number of very similar horizons that produce the resource we have that look, you know, wide open for, you know, a new resource. So we're pretty excited that we can, you know, easily get to our not easily. There's nothing easy about this business, but we're excited.
But at least there's a clear path. There's a clear path
to getting to a mineable resource. And then the question is it stacked? You know, can we look at, you know, so this could go from 3 to 10 to 30, you know, so, and then obviously as you do that, then your valuation really rockets. So where are we at today? So I guess what I would say to people, what we did when we looked at before we acquired the resource, is we looked at 2 deposits, Palladium 1 and Chilean Metals, as being sort of similar, you know, deposits in terms of where they were. Palladium 1's around 3 million tons, a little bit less. Chilean Metals around 4.1. So Palladium 1's grade's a little bit less than ours. Chilean Metals is better than ours in terms of nickel. You know, what we did as a you know, just as a rule of thumb, as a smell test, and we said, okay, how many drill holes and how much drilling did you do to generate this resource? And what is the in situ value of the resource? You know, this is, you know, I'm not saying this makes the thing commercial or whatever. I'm just saying this is a good test, you know, as a miner that you do and say, hey, is this make sense or does it not make sense? So when we did that, you know, basically we used Chilean Metals have done a PEA, so they're the furthest along, and that's why they're worth the most. Chilean Metals is worth 360 million. Last time I checked, we were like 15 or 20. Palladium 1 is worth 60, so it gives you an idea of where we can go here. So basically, they had drilled something over 100,000 meters, and their in situ value based on their price curve and their PEA was around 41,000. We also looked at spot, and it was about the same. For Palladium 1, I think it was between 60 and 80, depending on the Chilean Metals price curve or spot. And for us, we were in the 90,000s. So what that means to me is
90,000 what, Terry? 90,000.
$90,000 in situ value per meter drilled.
Okay, that I
So,
want to make sure it wouldn't have.
yeah. So what that means, it doesn't. What it really means is that you're drilling on pretty prospective ground. You're being pretty effective with your drilling. You're finding resource in the ground. So that's a good thing. So so I think that's exciting from what the future has to unfold for us. So we're hoping we can obviously replicate that, and we hope to apply these modern exploration techniques that have matured in the last 10 years in terms of modeling to execute and do that. So that's what really got us cranking, and then if you look at the macro possibilities for battery metals, I mean electrification is here to stay, and it's going to accelerate. And if you look at the supply and demand curves on any of these metals, nickel, copper, cobalt, the palladium group metals, platinum group metals, it's obviously because of the crazy bad sector we've been in the last 10 years, there's not many mines coming close to development. So the supply demand curve, a year, 2 years, 3 years out, is not looking good. So prices are going to rise. So it's going to be a great sector to be in. And I think that's going to be really support development of projects like this. And the good thing about this is that James Bay is a phenomenal place to develop a mine. You've got lots of.
You must be reading my mind, because I want to ask you. Tell everybody at home, what does it mean to be in Quebec, basically?
Yeah, well, a number of reasons to love Quebec. One, they're super pro mining friendly as a jurisdiction. They've got super flow through there, so exploration is written off 150%. So that makes what that means to shareholders is you're going to have a lot less dilution, because you're going to get much more bang for your buck in terms of the financing. So that's awesome. You've got very the critical elements as a tremendous deal with the Cree community, which is the Aboriginal chieftains of the land, and they're very pro development. I haven't met them myself yet, but certainly intend to, and so we feel that'll be a very productive relationship, and they're supporting it because they know it's going to generate high-paying jobs for their community and taxes and stuff. So James Bay Power is there. Like literally, we're just across the street from a major hydroelectric station. So you're not going to get cheaper power anywhere in the world, I don't think. So and when it comes to the greenness of the project, this is going to be as green as it gets, and I think that's not a bad edge to have in this world. It's
especially in Canada, right, where projects that aren't viewed as green are not getting any love whatsoever, right? We don't have to talk about, unfortunately, what's happened to the great people of Alberta.
I understand, I empathize with them greatly, but that's probably a conversation for another day. But I think we can certainly take advantage of it, and we're close proximity really to Inco in terms of if there's additional smelting needs that are required. So there's many ways this could become commercial fairly quickly. So that's unusual for mining. So that's why it's such a. Usually, you're looking at a 10-year struggle, but this doesn't have to be that. I'm confident that we can, over the next 12, 18 months, really show this is definitely going to become a mine. And, even within 6 months or so of the drilling, we're going to say, hey, look at this resource. We've expanded it significantly, and maybe, we're already on that pathway. So it's if you're like the battery metal space, I'd say hard to beat CMX right now in terms of value for potential.
Man, we are in simpatico. I don't know what's going on this call, but the question I was waiting to ask you was, okay, so if everything goes well, how long will it take for you to get to that point where you think you know what you have? And before I could even ask it, you're saying within 12 to 18 months, you'll have a pretty good idea, because you can earn up to 80% of the property with expenditures and work that you have to do. So I was going to say, all right, Terry, to get to that level, to get to the 80%, it's kind of mathematical. How long will it take to drill that much and spend that much? So you're saying, do you think you'll get to the 80% within 18 months, or you'll just have a great idea within 12 to 18 months as to the?
Yeah, I think we'll get to the 80% before 18 months. I mean, I think we're gonna obviously do this initial program, and that'll probably take us to 50%. And I would think that program would show we want to get to 80%, is my guess. So it would advance the deposit in a big way. Maybe it gets us into almost a PEA type of stuff. We'll see. Depends on how successful the drilling is, but obviously, when you find a deposit like this, your mission is to grow it. Obviously, you don't want to, you want to do it with thoughtful science, and we'll do that, but as quickly as you can, because this is a time business. You want to basically, get the drills turning, prove up the resource, and then if it looks like you got the tonnage, then you need to move into the PEA stuff and get the metallurgy and all that, which is none of that's easy, but all very doable, all being done all the time, so we can get that done. So yeah, we're full steam ahead on this.
You're the founder of Save Canadian Mining, which means you've got an extraordinary relationship with the likes of Eric Sprott, Keith Neumeyer, Rob McEwen, and others. Now that you've got Nisk, how much does their network and friendship and partnership potentially come into play here when you need to do financing or you need to bring in great people?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, that's we finally got a project we can actually talk to them about. I remember when we were doing the last round, and we were still a very junior exploration company, and I talked to Eric. He said, I'll help you out if you need it, but he says, really, that's not my entry point. I need you to be bigger. So, and luckily we were able to finance, and we didn't need them. So, I mean, certainly, these guys are respected. I'm a solid practitioner. You know how it is in this business. Not everyone puts the money in the ground and does things productively and really does try to create value for the shareholders, and so they know I'm all about that. And it's if you have a worthy project, you're going to have a big audience. These guys are smart guys, and certainly we can pick up the phone and talk to them, and for whether it's for people or for contacts or for other business ideas, and that's a great thing. And
that's invaluable, right there.
Yeah, and I mean, it's why we were able to get this deal from Critical, right? It's because the guys respected me. They know that we're going to go out there and do the right things, and it's why we got what we're focusing on Nisk, and today's wonderful announcement on Nisk, and that is the driver. But we got Gold and Ivan in BC, and that's no joke either. Since when we tied that deal up, it was with a friend of mine, a very a great BC mining guy. He's one of the larger property owners in the Golden Triangle area, and we tied it up 18 months ago. Just me and him verbally, and then he got sick, and just events, sort of COVID, all this stuff, and so it took forever to get that deal closed, and we closed it. But we closed it on the old terms, and in that 18-month period, two of our neighbors, like immediately on our border, have made major discoveries, and a third neighbor has become a mine. So you know how it is in mining. It's like, I explain to people, it's like, imagine you're a farmer and your next door farmer just became a regional shopping center. What happened to your property value? Well, it just went up. So when a mine goes up next to you, your property just went up. So I mean, we've got some other hidden gems, and that we probably, we talked about this internally a lot. We think we probably at some point have to unlock it. We'll probably spin off the gold and copper projects in Chile and in BC.
That would make sense, right?
Still very excited about, but we'll probably spin that off into another pubco. Because battery metals this is going to be a different animal. It's more of a development play, and obviously the battery metal investor is not necessarily the gold copper investor. So we'll probably think, in order to, again, just like Critical did this deal with us to harvest the value for Nisk, we'll probably do the same thing for Gold and Ivan and the Chilean.
Yeah, we've had a couple of resource companies who in the last year have spun off exactly that. They've got the main asset they keep in the company, but because the main asset like Nisk is so good, it can overshadow and almost provide no value for the other ones. So you spin those out.
Yeah, and honestly, those other projects are worthy of further work, and we can easily handle that. But it probably doesn't make sense to do that inside the Chilean envelope. And I think we'll probably rebrand it, and it'll be some obviously nickel focused name. And I think so I think the good news.
George Nickel sounds like a great name.
Yes.
George Nickel, Agorcom Nickel. You're welcome
Charge.
to use that.
George, do I have to pay a commission on that, or is there any sort
No,
of
I just
finder's
want
fee?
my name. I'm never going to be able to get the naming rights to an arena. So if I can get the rights to your company, then that'll be great. But
Yeah,
that makes
yeah,
sense, though, obviously, because
yeah,
Nisk is so prospective and so big.
yeah. So
That's
I think
great, Terry. Good
think
for
that's
you on getting to
yeah,
this
that's good,
point.
and I think it'll help the shareholders understand our philosophy going forward, what we're trying to do, and how we try it. We're always about creating shareholder value because we're in this as investors first, and as quickly as we can, develop this project and crystallize its peak value relative to risk, we will do so. So
Would I
that's
be wrong to assume that's probably something you guys are going to start looking at sooner than later?
yeah, I would expect that happens by fall. Honestly, I would
Yeah.
expect we'll get right into that.
You might as
And
well, right? You got to
yeah,
get
there's no
there,
point
so you might as
monkeying around.
well.
Yeah, no, we'll now that we got it closed, we'll get to work on the reorg. Yeah.
Terry, congratulations, man. This is a fantastic, like you said, transformative transaction for the company. And you've been such a stalwart in the industry and what you've done for everybody just through Save Canadian Mining, where you've helped all companies, not just junior resource companies, but all small cap companies with your, as the founder, you're the tip of the spear in the fight against predatory short sellers. That it's now great to see you make such a great acquisition, have such a great project that we can look forward to, have you back, talk about this on an ongoing basis for the next 12 to 18 months.
Well, we couldn't be happier to be in this position, and our long suffering shareholders, and God knows they've suffered for a long time. I got into this thing 8 or 9 years ago to help a friend out who's still here, and he's still our up until today, he was our biggest shareholder, but now Critical is. But all these guys have hung in through thick and thin, mostly thin, very, very thin, like gruel thin. So I'm really looking forward to giving these long-suffering shareholders a really great chance at finally making their money back, and then hopefully a lot more. So they certainly deserve it. So we can't wait to get to work for them.
Well, that says a lot about you, right? The fact that they believe you to stick around through the thick and thin. And to be fair to you, for everyone at home, because there are a lot of new investors, millennials, people who are now coming to the markets. A lot of those 8 or 9 years weren't just specific to you. The 2011, 12 to 2016 was just dark, terrible time for the entire junior resource space. So it wasn't unique to you, but the fact that you held on to your primary assets, held on to your shareholders, and now you're in this position is great. Looking forward to having you back as soon as possible, Terry.
Okay, George, thanks for having us again. Have a great day.
For everybody at home, you've been watching or you've been listening by podcast on Spotify, Google, Apple, or your favorite podcast platform, to Terry Lynch, CEO of Chilean Metals. So he's on the TSX Venture Exchange on the stock symbol CMX. You can see over Terry's head there, the website, ChileanMetals.com. Now is your chance to start with your due diligence. Start with Agorcom. Get to the Chilean Metals Hub. Take a look at the profile page where we've neatly laid out everything for you so that you can kind of in summary form understand Chilean in about 3 or 4 minutes. And then from there, link over to Chilean Metals and do your deeper dive. You've heard and watched what Terry had to say. He doesn't say these words lightly. We know him very well. And if he's saying these kind of things of this magnitude, it behooves you to do your due diligence and hopefully discover today your next great small cap company. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day. See you next time.
Cheers, guys.